POTV Go app එක දැන්ම දාගන්න. POTV Go SLT POTV TV බලන හොඳම විදිහ.
Tonight, more work for idle thumbs. The island-wide social media ban lifted. Insidious agenda. PM warns of attempts to incite religious violence ahead of Vesak. Lingering questions. His Eminence Cardinal Malcolm Ranjit still unhappy over government's conduct.
This exercise is done only just to satisfy our requirement, but that's not enough.
Persistent threat. The US warns that Sri Lanka hasn't seen the last of the attacks.
We do believe that there is active plotting underway, and we have warned US citizens and then, of course, others who might read our warnings.
All this and much more coming up on First at 9 this Tuesday, the 30th of April 2019.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on AdaDerana 24, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katrina Chang. Now, after almost a week of a social media ban, the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission today lifted the restrictions upon instructions of President Maithripala Sirisena. The ban came into effect at the heels of the Easter Sunday attacks and covered Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Viber and YouTube. It was intended as a measure to curb the proliferation of misinformation, and the general public are now urged to be responsible when sharing information via social media. Meanwhile, a van used by suicide bombers involved in the incident in Saindamarudu of Kalmune was taken into custody during search operations today. The van used by suicide bombers who carried out the attacks at Saindamarudu in Kalmune on the 26th of this month was found in the area of Pulyankulama North in Maradang Kadavala of Kakirawa today. The owner of the van, Abu Sali Nazar, who is a resident of Maradang Kadavala, was also arrested. He had revealed that the van was taken to Kalmune as per request by a clergyman. Meanwhile, a suspicious lorry wanted in connection with the Easter Sunday attacks was also found in Sungavila of Polonnaruwa today. 3 suspects were arrested along with the vehicle. Meanwhile, 2 persons were arrested in a housing complex in Kotahena yesterday. They had many suspicious items in their possession, including 3 ISIS propaganda campaign CDs, 11 mobile phones, 2 walkie-talkies, several house keys and foreign currency. It's been reported that they are activists attached to the National Tawhid Jamaat. The Colombo Magistrates Court permitted security officials to detain the suspects for interrogation until the 2nd of May. In the meantime, the footwear store in Gampola, where direct suspects of Easter Sunday bombings Muhammad Ibrahim Shadiq and Abdullah Haq and Muhammad Ibrahim Shadiq Abdul Haq were in hiding, were researched by security officials today as well. During the operation, recorded seminars of leader of the NTJ, Zahran Hashim, and CDs that contain documents of suicide training programs were found in a secret location of the store. Meanwhile, 2 Islamic clerics were arrested today in Narammala in suspicion of distributing sharp weapons to Colombo and other areas. At the time of the arrest, they had 9 swords and 3 mobile phones in their possession. In the meantime, 9 live ammunition used in 12 bow shotguns and 18 live ammunition used for 16 bow shotguns were found in a parcel that was left near the Viluka tank in Puttalam. Meanwhile, search operations conducted in the area of Vidatal Tivu of Mana yesterday yielded the arrest of 4 persons. They had 6 detonators in their possession. It was rumoured that a coordinating secretary of Minister Rishad Badiuddin was among the arrested. All Ceylon Makal Congress led by the minister later issued a statement rejecting these rumours while claiming that Muhammad Zahus had previously represented the party as a provincial councillor for Mantei West. According to ACMC, he does not hold the membership of the party any longer. In the meantime, Kotte Urban Councillor H.M. Ali Usman, who represents the UMP, was arrested along with his brother today after several swords were found at his brother's residence. Sitavaka police meanwhile arrested a person in Thalduwa of Avissavela today on suspicion of Islamist extremist ideology campaigning. A teacher by profession, the suspect was apprehended along with various equipment he had used for campaign purposes. A 28-year-old was also apprehended in Paduka today after 6 outfits similar to that of army uniforms and 8 mobile phones were found during search operations. A passport, several foreign currency notes, a lorry that had been registered in Trincomalee and 1 motor bicycle were taken into custody. In Vaunia, 3 low-intensity bombs and 1 RPG were found yesterday at a hotel where most long-distance buses stop. In another discovery in Vaunia, a suspect was arrested after 2 swords were found hidden inside the sewage of a house. Meanwhile, 4 bombs were discovered in a private land near the Godagama temple in Naramala today. Security officials conducted a controlled explosion to destroy one of the bombs. In the meantime, police apprehended 3 Maldivians and 1 local at the Kurundugaha Hatakma interchange of the Southern Expressway who were found to be making a hasty exit from the area. They had documents pertaining to the purchase of a motorbike in their possession. The wave of arrests continued with 4 persons being arrested from the Yaggasmula Muslim village in Veerakatiya today. President of a mosque was apprehended in Madurankuli after burnt remains of a campaign poster of National Tawi Jamaat were found in the premises. Meanwhile, British news organisation Sky News issued surveillance footage of the final hours of the suicide bomber who carried out the attack at the Zion Church in Batticaloa on Easter Sunday. Surveillance cameras first captured Muhammad Azhar at 2 a.m. when he arrived at a mosque clutching 2 bags. Once the mosque opened, he entered the premises at 5:42 a.m., leaving his bags outside the chamber of the mosque. He joined in prayers but leaves early. He scopes out his church target before going back to the mosque for a change of clothes. At 9:33 a.m., he leaves the mosque with his backpack. He then heads out onto the street to carry out the explosion. The police curfew was reimposed in Samandure, Kalmune and Chavalkad areas of 8 p.m. today and will be in effect until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Security concerns remain high after extremist militants opened fire and set off explosives outside the Marudu as security officials closed in to raid their safe house last Friday. Now a total of 15 bodies, including 6 men, 3 women and 6 children were recovered from the site of the explosions. A man believed to be the elusive leader of the so-called Islamic State, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, has re-emerged in media after a 5-year hiatus. Appearing in a propaganda video released by the terror cell's Al-Furqan media network yesterday, al-Baghdadi praises the suicide bombers who carried out the Easter Sunday attacks in Sri Lanka. He says that it was done to avenge their brothers in Bagus and not in retaliation to a right-wing terrorist attacking 2 mosques in New Zealand, as earlier claimed by the government. The so-called Islamic State released a new video yesterday, once more claiming responsibility for the Easter Sunday attack in Sri Lanka. In the video, featuring a man believed to be IS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, it is stated explicitly that the attacks in Sri Lanka was in retaliation for the loss of Bagus, the last stronghold of IS in Syria. Speaking to Indivri Amwatta on our current affairs program at Hyde Park recently, Professor Gunaratna also said that the Sri Lankan attack cannot be in retaliation of the Christchurch attack, but over the significant losses the terror cells suffered in Syria and Iraq.
How significant is this Sri Lankan attack for Islamic State?
It is very significant because Islamic State suffered very significantly in the month of January and February in Syria and Iraq. This group was virtually dismantled because the American-led coalition, the Russian-led coalition and the other forces managed to contain, isolate and eliminate the territorial control of IS. Fighting terrorism is not going and just killing or catching terrorists. It is, the strategy should be to dismantle that pipeline of radicalization.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe warns that there are attempts to incite religious violence before the day of Vesak. The Premier, making a special statement to media, vowed to take stern action against those who use social media and other platforms to spur conflict and extremism.
IS Naik Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
After 4 years, leader of ISIS Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi appeared on a video to make a special statement. In the video, he stated that the attack was carried out in response to the Kurdish forces and their allies having captured their last stronghold in the city of Baghuz in Syria. This is a dangerous warning to the world. We must therefore strengthen our national security. Instead of debating what went wrong in relation to the Easter Sunday attacks, all I wanted to do was to normalize the situation and prioritize the security of the people. There is much information that was found, but we believe it is not the right time to be revealed. We were able to take a number of measures in a short period of time thanks to our efficient intelligence and security forces. We have over 10,000 intelligence officers and over 100,000 personnel in our security forces, and they're all engaged in their duty. Therefore, we are working towards arresting the remaining suspects. But just because we arrest them, it does not mean this situation is controlled, which is why we are committed in joining hands with all countries that are against terrorism. We are vigilant on those who falsely claim that they are patriotic while engaging in propaganda through social media platforms. Their motive is to spur religious conflict before Vesak Day and are currently laying the necessary foundation for this. There are certain groups on social media who allege that I was against banning the niqab at the cabinet briefing. This is a part of their plan. The truth is that the entire cabinet was in favour of this decision. We will take stern action against those who use social media and other platforms to spur conflict and extremism.
බොරු ප්‍රචාර පතුරවන පුද්ගලයන් හා ජනමාධ්‍ය පිළිබඳ දැඩි පියවර ගැනීමට අපට සිදු වෙනවා.
Speaking exclusively to CNN, President Maithripala Sirisena opted to give a timeline of the events leading up to the Easter attacks. In the interview, one of the recurring themes was the president is distancing himself from the tragedy, saying that he was kept in the dark as the Inspector General of Police, who is currently on compulsory leave, and the former Defence Secretary having sat on vital information that could have prevented the tragedy. Therefore, he went on to say that as he was kept in the dark prior to the attacks, it is not he who should resign.
You seem therefore to be suggesting that the intelligence agencies were deliberate in keeping you uninformed of this?
I do not think this was intentionally done. I feel they were being irresponsible and negligent in their duties. When the incident occurred, I asked them why they didn't inform me of the matter, and their response was that even though they received the information, they didn't think an incident of this nature would occur. I think they were careless and negligent in their duties.
President Maithripala Sirisena pledges to make the findings of the Presidential Commission appointed to probe the Easter Sunday attack public once it is finalized. The head of state led a National Security Council meeting today with the participation of newly appointed Defence Secretary General Shantha Kottegoda. Newly appointed Defence Secretary General Shantha Kottegoda assumed duties at the Ministry of Defence this morning. Later, he joined the National Security Council meeting led by President Maithripala Sirisena.
I decided to appoint a presidential commission with judicial powers to look into the Easter Sunday attacks. The decision was made after just 2 hours of the incident when I was in Singapore. Accordingly, we appointed a commission led by a Supreme Court judge and several other experienced officials. They will look into personnel who neglected their responsibilities and history of this incident. They have been asked to finalize the report within 2 weeks. We can't appoint any other commission than this according to the constitution of the country. As soon as we receive the report will be made available to the public. It will also be presented in Parliament. The Tri-Forces and the National Security Council met today and set up a new operations centre to ensure national security.
And now we cross over to a short commercial break. Make sure you stay tuned for more news on the other side.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is AdaDerana 24.
Well, welcome back to the news. Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa insists that there is absolutely no need for foreign troops to be on Sri Lankan soil, as Sri Lankan security forces are capable of handling the present terrorist situation since they did so with success in the past. The opposition leader, however, highlighted the government's divisions are keeping this situation from being arrested and called for the President and the Prime Minister to come together in tackling the issue.
This attack was not planned overnight. And how did the government miss such extensive planning and execution?
Government knew about the attack. They got all the information. And it was not yesterday or day before yesterday. For last so many years, for 2015, they have got all the information. People had given that. And I think even the Indian had informed them. Everybody is playing politics. This is the problem. Whether it is the president or the prime minister, they are all playing politics. So ultimately, the national security is in
danger now.
danger.
So we also know that a few youngsters had gone to Syria, been part of IS and come back. Still there is no action taken, and the Prime Minister says the law of the land doesn't allow to take
the law, I don't know why he said that, but as far as I know, our penal code, the law is there and they can act.
What would you want to tell the Indian leaders and the Indian people at this juncture?
They have helped us, even for last 30 years of war, the LTT war. India helped us, giving us all the intelligence and information and even equipments, I would say. Even in this case, they have informed us. They have done their job. So they will be continuing, I would say, continue the good job that they did. I would say we don't have to bring any foreign soldiers or any groups like that. The Americans are there, the Indians are there, Pakistanis are there. Everybody will come if they want, if you ask them to come. But our security and our soldiers, our police, our Sri Lankans can handle this because they have handled a war that was there for last 30 years. And they have experience. And they have won the war. They have the experience. Only thing, the government must act on these things. They must get together. The both of them, the president, the prime minister, and the whole government must get together and work together and get our people, our security people to act. Give them the right direction.
And the freedom.
And the freedom.
Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa heralds that he is a US citizen no more. Joining the political and current affairs program Derana 360 yesterday, the former Defence Secretary expressed his readiness to contest in the looming presidential election. He also spoke at length on the prevailing situation in the country following the Easter Sunday attacks and the lead up to it. The former Defence Secretary was of the view that the prevailing mentality within the government is not conducive to absorb information gathered by intelligence services.
Even state officials get confused when a government doesn't focus on state security. All intelligence units worked together during the previous government. I think that now they're disbanded. One official making a mistake is possible, but what is the reason for all officials making mistakes? We should look into whether they are scared of acting during these situations. The LTTE was one of the most strongest terrorist organizations, and these very officials were able to defeat them. Prabhakaran once said that the next war will not be in the north and east, but in the south. He was ready to bring his war to Colombo, but intelligence officials did their best to stop that from happening. We should figure out why is it that such a powerful intelligence service has been reduced to this.
The former Defence Secretary also responded to claims of the President and Prime Minister not having prior knowledge of these attacks.
This would only happen if the President or the Prime Minister do not give prominence to information gathered by intelligence services. During the previous government, such information was immediately sent to all relevant units and officials from top to bottom, including the President. That was because back then, there was a mentality which was conducive to the absorption of such information. When that mentality is discouraged, situations similar to the prevailing one arise.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa also moved to give clarification over his dual citizenship.
99% of that process to renounce my US citizenship is now concluded. I am to receive one official letter and it's routine. In fact, I am not a citizen of the United States anymore. I have turned in my passport. I have also taken my oath to the tune that I am relinquishing my US citizenship out of my own volition. That means I'm not a dual citizen, but only a Sri Lankan citizen.
The former Defence Secretary also cleared any doubt over speculation of a possible military government, which some say would follow if he were to win the presidential election.
No one should fear me. I believe that people of this country think of me as someone who can work for the nation. Many ask me to contest in the upcoming presidential election. Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa is the most popular person in the country, and that is without debate. But the 19th Amendment to the Constitution restricts him from contesting in the election. In such a backdrop, if people are asking me to come forward, I think I must. I mentioned earlier that I am ready to contest in the election, and it is the same today as well.
The United States believes that members of the militant group behind the Easter Sunday attacks may be at large and planning more attacks in the island. In an interview with Reuters today, U.S. Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Elena B. Teplitz, emphasized that their warnings are very much valid and that the terrorist threat is ongoing.
I can't comment on specific intelligence or investigative information, but I believe our warning is valid and still stands, which is that we do believe that there is active plotting underway, and we have warned U.S. citizens and then, of course, others who might read our warnings to be mindful of places that might make attractive targets for terrorists. Well, the government of Sri Lanka has admitted lapses in intelligence and failures along the way. I think that's a positive sign towards working to correct those lapses. We, of course, are ready as a good partner and friend of the country and the people here to support them in that effort. Nobody wants to see a repeat of what happened on Easter Sunday. There's a lot of intense interest, obviously, among the people here, but I think among the leadership, and moving ahead aggressively to make sure that those things don't happen again.
We will join you right after this commercial break, so make sure you stay tuned for more.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is AdaDerana 24.
Sunday Mass at churches across the island are set to resume from the coming weekend. Speaking at a media briefing held at his residence this morning, Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, said church services will return to normalcy from the 5th of May. His Eminence was, however, critical of the government's conduct in the wake of the Easter attacks, saying it is simply attempting to appease the Catholic community instead of conducting effective investigations. Venerable Omar Sobira Thera was also present at the media briefing.
Before the church position, main body of the Maulavis has already written an appeal to their own people to withdraw what they call the niqab. This is a very good move, and we appreciate what the Maulavis have done. Niqab can be used also for fraudulent activities. In an emergency, in a situation where hundreds of people have been killed, the government has to ensure that there is peace and harmony in the country. And therefore, if that any move is necessary for the assurance of peace and harmony, the government should go in that direction.
Eminence, you call us yesterday and express more or less the same sentiments that you are not satisfied with what's going on. Is there anything that prompted you to call us again and let us know that you are still unhappy with...
Because there were certain reports that came from different sources, it was our request, our explicit request to the government to check the Negombo area. And it was told to us that by the people in the area that certain houses that they were suspecting were not even opened or not even gone into. So that there is a fear among the people that this is just only camouflage. So we wanted that authority to be given to the army, because the army, in a question, the army can always say that we are not authorized. So if they are not authorized, the authority should be given for them to check all these houses, and if there is any arrest, they should be able to also question them, like the police.
You also mentioned you want tougher laws, and particularly PTA will be strengthened.
Yeah.
Already there is a lot of criticism about PTA, that is why a new replacement piece of legislation is being talked about. So,
when this new law was spoken about, then there was a lot of bickering going on. Instead of the PTA, there's a act called PTA now. They want to withdraw the PTA and introduce a new law. Then there were lots of allegations made in the public that this new law is going to restrict trade union freedom and other freedoms which are not envisaged in the present PTA Act. So if that is going to be a problem for the government, and if they think that the PTA, the actual PTA is not strong enough for them to act, that is why they need a new law, then let them bring some amendments to the existing law, which is much easier for them to organize, because it will not be an entire new law with debates and discussions, but they can bring it in Parliament and discuss it and approve it.
It's being replaced because of criticism that the EPA is too draconian, and it's affecting the personal liberty.
But then why is the government saying that they need a new law?
You sound very disappointed with your comments about the teacher. Yesterday also I felt the same. Yesterday, at least after this discussion, you will discuss with the government authorities about your concerns and what is the feedback you got.
Once these interview matters were published, this morning I got a call from the Prime Minister who wanted to assure me that this checking up is taking place. But in fact, after that I came to know from a source that they have bypassed certain houses. I had very clearly indicated Periyamulla as an area which should be investigated. But they had bypassed some of the houses and gone because they were closed. That means this exercise is done only just to satisfy our requirement, but that's not enough.
The Department of Meteorology warns that the cyclonic storm Fani, which is currently over the southwest Bay of Bengal, placing it to the northeast of Sri Lanka, is likely to intensify further. Fani is set to progress into an extremely severe cyclonic storm during the next 7 hours. Speaking first at 9, Director General of the Met Department, Atul Karunanayake, said that the cyclone is placed 640 kilometers away from the island and it will move away. In the meantime, Assistant Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipili, speaking to First at 9, said that the 117 call centre is open for the public for assistance, while they are advised to stay vigilant over possible signs of landslides.
Still, until further notice, fishermen and naval communities are advised to refrain from sailing. Communities who are living in the risky area are being advised to observe all the signs of the landslide. Any signs of the landslide being observed, they need to move from those locations. We will continuously updating the signs to be observed by the communities. Slanting trees and cracks and sudden springs of the ground and cracks on the walls need to be very careful for the observations. And lightning damages have been continuously observed in many areas of Sri Lanka in few weeks time. Still the 117 call center is open. The Triforces and the police been completely deployed, completely informed, and with all the equipments, and the district disaster management units been completely deployed in 24/7 basis.
The severe cyclonic storm named Pony over southwest Bay of Bengal to the east of Sri Lanka was located. It is likely to intensify further into the very severe storm cyclonic. The system is very likely to move north-westward off east coast of Sri Lanka, and under the influence of this system, southerly and windy condition will enhance over the island during next few days. So showers or thunder showers at times with very heavy fall, more than 100 millimeters, can be expected in the Sabaragamuwa, Central, Southern, Western, Northwestern and Uva province, and in Ampara district. Strong wind up to 60 to 70 km per hour can be expected over the island, particularly in the Centre Hill, Northern, North Central, Northwestern and Southern province and Trincomalee and Ampara district.
In the meantime, heavy winds that blew across the areas of Kiribannara, Vawa, Ranvaligama, Habaralu Vawa and Kiri Vawa last night have caused damages to around 15 houses. The power supply in the area is disrupted due to fallen trees, and according to our correspondent, around 500 acres of plant and plantations are also destroyed due to the prevailing weather conditions. National University Teachers Association proposes that the Batiklo campus of Sri Lanka, which is still under construction, should be taken over by the government as it poses a threat to national security. Addressing media, they claim that the institution funded by Saudi Arabia also poses a threat to the South Asian region.
The educational institute, currently known as the Batiklo campus of Sri Lanka, commenced in 2013 as a small vocational training centre. According to sources, it has changed its name several occasions before adopting the name Batiklo campus of Sri Lanka. Its website says that the Batiklo campus will operate with 6 faculties. The Faculty of Law has been dedicated to teach Islamic law, and the Faculty of Religious, Cultural and Languages only has 1 faculty, and that is the Department of Sharia. They have already recruited 3 lecturers for the Department of Sharia, and all are from foreign universities. As we're informed, 90% of the construction has been completed in the Punani area. They say that the administration is done by a board of governors and its chairman is Eastern Province Governor MLAM Hizbullah. He is the person who said that they will have to take up arms for some reasons. Saudi Arabian foundation called HIRA funded this institute. This is a project to spread extremism in the South Asian region and destabilize the region. The government should stop these activities soon. Furthermore, we also suggest that the government take over the already constructed buildings and the resources of this institute. Meanwhile, the issue was also touched on at several media briefings today. I remember the then vocational training minister Dala Salaha Peruma signing an agreement for this campus 6 years ago. Our stance on this campus is that it cannot be allowed to function unless it is brought under the University Grants Commission. Even the governor of the Eastern Province has accepted it. We are accused of teaching Sharia law, which is a false statement. The institution isn't even open yet. This is a project initiated by the BOI and it was registered as a private university. It should be approved by the Higher Education Ministry. I set up this university for all communities including Sinhalese, Tamil and Muslim. Meanwhile, speaking to First at 9, Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Professor Mohandis Silva, said that the particular university is not registered under the University Grants Commission. He, however, refused to make further comments on how such an educational institution should be regulated under the UGC.
And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.